Hey, ladies, welcome to another Self-Love Conversations. My name is Gloria Ward, and as you guys know, a sister has been traveling, doing a whole bunch of stuff, just got back from Miami, and now we are sitting with an amazing sister who is an entrepreneur. She is a podcaster. She has a wonderful podcast that I was listening to with her and her husband, and they were just cracking me up and making me laugh. Miss Julie Delucca-Collins, she's the CEO and founder of what is it, Confidentially
It's
Services?
Go Confidently Services.
Go
It's a
Confidently
mouthful. It's a
Services.
mouthful. I like it. What can I tell you? I want to be able to just say it often, I guess. You know?
Yeah, I love it. And like I was saying earlier, I was listening to the podcast. I thought it was so amazing of how how you guys connect. And I think that's one of the things that is missing right now is the ability to have, like husband and wife just to be able to, do something together. So Julie, thank you so much for being here and thank you so much for blessing us with your time.
Gloria, thank you so much for the time that you have made to have me on your show. I am honored to have an opportunity to chat, and thank you for your kind words about the show. As you were speaking, I have to tell you, it is a labor of love. It is one of my favorite things to do is
Uh-huh.
to have this podcast, and I certainly would not do it if I did not have my hashtag handsome hot husband to help me along the way.
I said, it looks like they sound like that they're a good team, and you guys just flow so so well. So that is very rare to find these days, and so I just wanted to send you kudos on that. So
Oh, well, thank you. But
yeah,
I do want to, in full transparency, no perfect people here at all. We have sometimes I don't even know if I want to talk to him on the show, but then once we start talking, we have
ah,
a lot of fun. We are a regular married couple, right? That has
yeah.
their great times and their why did you leave your shoes on the floor times.
Hmm. That is awesome. But I know we're going to talk about today is loving ourselves as a multiple
Yeah.
minority, and I thought that was a great topic because that
Yeah.
is also something that we rarely talk about, and to just get some insight on,
Mm.
what that looks like and what your thoughts are will really, shed some light for our audience and our women. So the first thing that I will ask you is, how did you get here? How did you decide that this was going to be your life?
I think I decided that this was going to be my life way before I knew that I'd had decided that.
Mm,
I been doing a lot of thinking about my career and where I started, and I've always had some really big dreams, but I also had a lot of, oh, maybe I'm not good enough kind of
yeah,
playing in the back of my head. So I went through a career of being a teacher and I loved it. Teaching is one of the most special things and things I've done in my life, but I also wanted more. And I knew that I was not necessarily I love the kids, but I also hated the constraints of being a teacher.
mhm,
And sadly, and again, I first worked with, students back in the 90s, so it's a long time ago. But
mhm,
and things haven't changed since then.
yeah,
I did not have financial security. I did not, I worked more than one job to be able to make things happen in my life. And I know that I wanted more.
yeah,
So that's when I was recruited by an educational company, and I loved the work that they did. It was still in education, and I got to work with students, work with parents. And they really were so great at helping me become a very well-rounded professional. They
gotcha.
mentored me in a lot of ways. And then I went to another company, and that company also did a lot of great work in helping me really come into my own, really be more independent. But here's the thing that I realized is in the first company, I kind of felt like Goldilocks, in
Yeah.
which one fit well, but it was like, I don't know, maybe there are too many like lines that I have to color within. And the other company, it was more like no lines at all. Okay, go to
Mm.
town, you do it all. And what I found is that I wanted to do it my way. And maybe my way is making the drawing itself and then coloring it, not
Mm.
having no boundaries and not having tight boundaries. So I think that that's when my journey began, that eventually, the more I climbed in this corporate ladder, the more that I moved to more positions of leadership within my companies, I kept hearing from a lot of women, I wish I was as confident as you are.
Wow.
I wish I could do what you're doing. And I kept thinking, but you can. I'm not always that confident.
Yeah.
I don't always have it together. And I wanted to be able to help other women because it broke my heart that people didn't see in themselves the gifts, the wonderful things that we all have inside of us. And that little something that people have that somebody else needs, right? And it
That's
really
right.
broke my heart that a lot of women did not see that. Women in particular did not see that for themselves.
Hmm.
So that's how I got into this journey because I knew that I wanted more. I knew that I wanted to call the shots, but I knew that I also wanted to do it in a way that helped these women that somehow don't believe in themselves. Somehow we're not doing the thing and we're really struggling to feel more confident in their own way with the thing that they wanted to do. So that's how I got here.
Yeah. And my next question, which makes it easy, is being a minority, having all of these cultural things, trying to get yourself to build. What was that journey like? Because I know for myself, you know, being a woman, being a Black woman, right? You go through the whole thing of what it means to just be a woman in the world. But then you have another layer of that being a Black woman in the world where you got to know how to behave. You got to know how to talk to people. You got to make sure it's already embedded in your head. You got to be 10 times as better. You have to make sure you have all these things. It's like all of these rules you have to
Mm.
follow just to fit in, get along, and get noticed, which still might not happen. But you follow those rules hoping that it does.
So I have to tell you a secret.
Hmm.
Um, and was probably 2013. And I heard a shocking phrase.
Hmm.
And and it all opened my eyes to a lot of different things. I was traveling for work. I was there with with the CEO of the company, the founder of the company that I worked for at the time. Great role model, and I talk about her in my book.
Yeah.
Strong, intelligent, go-getter. And we were there to meet with the head of the education department for the state
Hmm.
of Texas, the commissioner of education. That's as high as you go.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in his office, and I'm looking around, and he turns to me and he says, "Well, Black and brown people like us." And I honestly, that's all I heard. I don't even remember what we were talking about or what he said after that. But I remember thinking, I'm a brown person. And by the way, I've known I'm a brown person.
Mhm.
Um, but all of a sudden I realized like, oh, wait a minute, this makes sense. Because there's been a level of struggle that it was sort of like pushing against the wall that I didn't know, an invisible wall
Hmm.
that I guess it's been there all along, but I didn't realize was there in some ways. I grew up in a family. My mom is from El Salvador.
Hmm.
My dad is from New York, and my dad is part Italian, part Puerto Rican. But
Yep.
we really grew up predominantly with my mom's family. My mom's mom, who also I talk about in my book, is, or was rather, a trailblazer in her own right. She
Hmm.
was a very highly educated woman. She owned her own business. She was named Woman of the Year for the entire country. Um, so I grew up seeing that. It was represented to me that you could be a strong woman, you can be independent, you didn't have to rely on a man. And by the way, she had a wonderful husband, very similar to my husband, who was very supportive of whatever hair crazy idea she had.
Right.
Um, and he was just like, okay, let's do it. Whatever you need. Well, you want me to build you that? I'll build you that. Whatever you want that, I'll do that. Um, so I never felt that there were those limitations. Fast forward when we left the country because of the Civil War. My grandparents stayed in El Salvador, but we moved with my mom to Miami. And I was so excited. I was kind of a little disappointed that we weren't moving to New York because that's where my other family was. And I'd been familiar with New York, I'd visited. Um, but then all of a sudden, I was once again a minority, and I was not so much that there weren't a lot of Latin descent people, but the majority of the people there were Cuban.
Hmm.
And I remember having the first conversation with one of the girls in the sixth grade, and she said, "Well, are you black?" And this is a conversation in Spanish. And she said, "Are
Yeah.
you black?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, you're very dark." And I realized that even and I didn't belong in any of these pockets. I was too dark for some, too light for some, too unknown for some.
Hmm.
And I was the only person that I knew from El Salvador there.
Hmm.
So I think that this is the one thing that throughout my career, throughout my life, there's this undefined sense of not necessarily being part of the crowd,
Yeah.
part of the status quo. And then when the commissioner of education said black and brown people like us, I realized that I was a brown person, but also I never spoke that before, so I couldn't really advocate for myself as that because I
Hmm.
was floundering. And I had to forge my own way and not be defined. And I think that many people end up not seeing someone like them, and they
Yeah.
don't even know to advocate. I advocated because I had strong roots with my grandmother.
Hmm.
She taught me to there's nothing a woman couldn't do. A
That's
woman
right.
can speak her mind. A woman can build this. A woman can own and run a company. So I never, but thank God I had that, because if I didn't, I would have been
The
defined
mindset. Hmm.
by everything else,
Think out
right?
the
That
act.
tends to be the thing that define many of us in this
Hmm.
conversation.
Yeah. And and
Oh.
and you're saying so many wonderful things because at the same time, I'm from New York originally. I live in Atlanta now, right?
Mhm.
And it was kind of like your experience. I'm home, I'm with my family, this is all I know. And then I moved to the South, and then it's different. And
Mm.
I'm saying to myself, well, there's different within and there's different without. I'm used to everybody. I'm used to,
Yeah.
Indians, Haitians, Spanish people, everybody, because everybody live around each other. New York is
Mhm.
like a melting pot, right? So there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I know what I heard growing up. And it's like I said, you got to be 10 times better. You got to work, you got to do all this. But also, it was that independence and everything. And it's not until you really start to go through life in your career, relationships, or anything like that, where, like you
Mhm.
said, you get to see those invisible walls, right?
Yeah.
And it's at that point you have to be able to make a decision for yourself
Mm.
of who you're going to be. And that's
Yeah.
where a lot of women get tripped up
Yeah.
because you can fall into the category with everyone else and get the women you said you got. I wish I was more like you.
Yeah.
Or you can define your own path and say who you're going to be
Mm.
and allow that to be your path,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. I think that many of us, and by the way, I think that yes, I knew a path, but I also had to kind of make it up as I went along.
I understand. Absolutely.
And many of us don't even know our society is set up and you know, I'm going to get kind of soapboxy here,
Yeah,
but our
that's fine.
society is set up in which we we're supposed to grow up, be a good girl, not speak our mind. We're supposed
Yep.
to go to school, but if we meet the right guy, then we should get together with them, have some kids, stay home. If we choose to go out and work, we should do it, but still come home and make sure that we're doing the laundry, getting the kids ready, and all of that.
Yeah.
And by the way, then we hear ourselves mostly, and in some cases the world saying, hey, um you're not doing it right. I actually had a friend who we were we went to see the symphony. They play outdoors in an outdoor park here, and they play
Mhm.
really fun like ABBA or you know the really pop music for the summer.
Yeah.
So my friend was there with her child, and she is a VP, a senior VP of one of the biggest companies here in Connecticut. She
Hmm.
travels all over the world with her team.
Wow.
She has a young child, and she she's unpacking the food that they're going to have in this picnic, and she's apologizing because the thing that she brought for her child is a lunchable. She's like, don't judge me for being such a bad mom. I just got out of work
Uh-huh.
later and she doesn't eat this, but and I'm like, it does not define you. Your
Hmm.
child is not going to, you know, fall to the pit of despair because they had a lunchable. But why
Hmm.
do as women must we feel that we are defined by this choice when there's so much other
I'll tell
greatness
you
in
what it
us?
is. I'll tell you what it is. This is what I've learned. It is shame, right?
Yes.
And you feel shame only because s- something or someone is reaffirming how you
Mhm.
already feel about yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
understand?
society is telling us we should have it together. Society is telling my friend that although
Yep.
she has this high
Yep.
powered job, she needed to go home and make a
Hmm.
sandwich from scratch with like organic peanut butter,
That's right.
jelly
That's
that
right.
she canned herself.
Yeah.
Right. And also, by the way, made this wonderful gourmet meal for her husband so they can go out to the symphony in the
That's
park and
right.
have a lovely picnic.
That's right.
That's
That's
what
right.
society tells us. And
That's
we don't
right.
give ourselves permission to be, to just show up. By the way,
Yeah,
sometimes showing up is the best thing we can do. And if someone is
absolutely.
listening, and this is again goes back to what I said about these women, and this is what breaks my heart about the women who would say, I wish I was blah, 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 whatever, it's you. Um, this is the thing that kills me, that they probably have gifts that I would kill for.
Oh, yeah, they
And
do.
they don't see that in themselves. And
Mm-mm.
by the way, they don't have to do what I'm doing. They can go out and do their own thing, and they could learn and they could grow and they could really make an impact, but they're not giving themselves enough credit because the world is telling us that, you know, I I don't know if I can say the word, but we
You
suck
can.
because we suck because we can't we don't do it like the world says we should. We
That's
have
right.
to stop that.
You don't look like the celebrities that you're
Yeah.
scrolling past on social media. You don't have the same talent that this person has that
Hmm.
is on social media. And I think that's a big problem is the social media because it's putting these ideas in women's heads about what it is that you are
Hmm.
supposed to be, how you need to look, and even if you are a minority, how are you supposed to represent that?
Right. Right.
Right? Like you have to be this. You have to be labeled as something. You have to go after something. If you
Right.
don't, and you have your own mind and you follow your own mind, you're canceled. We don't like you because you have no idea, or you're not coming to this side or this side. And then now you have to go think for yourself. Oh, you're just an outcast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think
You're
that,
just,
we have to work so hard at being a woman. We have to work so hard at everybody has a load that we carry,
hmm
but sometimes society adds to our load.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and it does. And if people say you don't have it as hard as I do, we all have it just as hard. You don't know.
mhm,
I heard it say, Gloria, I heard it say, if we were sitting around a campfire and all of us were to write in a piece of paper, this is my burden, and we put
yeah.
it in a hat, and then everybody had to pick a burden from the hat, you would put back somebody else's burden to pick up your own because you wouldn't want to go through what somebody else is going through.
Amen to that. So, how do you start to carve out this lane for yourself when these women come to you and they tell you, I wish, I hope, I'm working on,
Yeah.
what are the steps that you give them? Because, that's like the meat of this whole thing. It doesn't matter if you're a minority. It doesn't matter if you're disabled. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter how you grew up, because there are so
Mm,
many stories of people who were just like you or worse,
indeed.
who came out to be whatever it is that they said they wanted to be. It doesn't have to be successful because success is defined by your own being of what you think that is.
Yeah.
But what do you say to those women when they say that?
The work that we do together is very simple. Just like a company that it's trying to start
Yeah.
or grow something new. I like my women to understand a little bit about themselves first. I think that
Mhm.
self-awareness is key to self-love.
Absolutely.
Self-awareness is key to understanding, hey, what makes you tick? I will tell you, I know what makes me tick. There's parts of me sometimes I don't want to see, but having
Mhm.
that understanding of who I am and what are the things that kind of make me do the things that I do. And by the way, it's not to point, a flashlight and so that we can wrap ourselves in like what Brene Brown calls that shame shawl. We're like, oh, woe is me, look at me. No, it's not about that. But I
Yeah.
want my women who I work with to first um, let's celebrate our gifts. So, just like we would for a company, I take them through what we call a SWOT analysis. And SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, for instance, I'll speak to myself since I am the best. I'm my best client, by the way. So,
Yeah.
in looking at what my strengths are, I'm outspoken. I don't mind, taking the lead on something. I will go all in on something. Those are my strengths. I can communicate. I love writing. There's so many different things there that are my strengths, right? What
hmm
are my weaknesses? I am stubborn. Sometimes it's my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I am also, sometimes because I'm jumping all in, I'm not trying to figure out like the details, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses.
Right.
So then let's talk about opportunities. Well, what are the opportunities that, you know, maybe some of these weaknesses can be opportunities. Well, maybe I'm going to learn to be more detail oriented, and this is how I will do it. And then the same thing with threats. What threatens me, right? Well, competition, things that people that plan out that are better planners than I am at times, right? So these are the things that I walk someone through first, is really having a clear understanding. Second, the next thing that we do is we really begin to analyze also what are your values.
Mm.
Because here's the thing, I am a firm believer that our values are part of our roots. They're
I
the
tell you,
things that
I,
ground us. They're
I
the
love
things
that.
that plant us in place. And our
I love that.
dreams, right? Our wings. We have all
Mm-hmm.
these dreams, and the dreams are the things that help us fly. So what I
Mm-hmm.
want people to know is that once you understand, who you are, good, bad, ugly, otherwise, right? Your SWOT analysis, let's look at your values, because whether you're trying to build a company, whether you're trying to build a non-for-profit, whatever it is important to understand what's important to you. I will tell you that for me, my number one value is service.
Mm.
Service.
Mm.
Do you know how many people come to me and say, "Hey, I was wondering, can I ask you a question?" Absolutely. Let me serve you.
Yeah.
Oh, but I can't afford you. It's okay. I will tell you. I'm here to help. What is the one thing that outside of my work and outside of my personal life, I spend the most time in? Helping others. I volunteer a lot because I believe in that. I
Right.
believe that when you give yourself to others, oh my God. And by the way, I get a heck of a lot more from doing things for others than they get from me.
Right.
And I do it because I love it. And I do it because I was instilled in me as a value system as I was young. My grandmother always talked about, hey, to those who are given a lot, much is expected.
Exactly.
And once, individuals like business owners, for instance, the women that I work with, it's important for them to understand, hey, if your value is honesty, trustworthiness, or maybe freedom or communication, whatever your value is, right? That's what's going to drive your action. Because if service is important to me, guess what? I'm going to make time in my calendar to make sure that I can attend board meetings or I can go and read
Mm-hmm.
at a school. The same thing. So it's very important to be able to understand these things. And that, my friend, is what is a personal brand. You don't have to be Nike to have a brand and a swoosh, but you can be your own personal brand. And that's that awareness of who you are, what makes you tick, what's important to you, what you're going to prioritize. It's what's going to allow you to then begin to the process of loving yourself.
Mm. I love that. I love that. So tell us a little bit about this book you have.
Okay, so my book is called Confident You:
Mm-hmm.
Simple Habits to Live the Life You Have Imagined.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I
amazing.
it really is, outside of the podcast,
Yeah.
that's my other child. So our first child with my husband is the podcast. The second child is the book. And by
Yeah.
the way, I wrote it, but I wouldn't have been able to write it without him because as a writer, and this might be something that a lot of people don't realize, writing is makes you naked.
Yes, it does.
um, And when I wrote, and I've always considered myself to be a good writer, but then when I got the first round of edits from my editor, I thought, I'm out. Not doing this. I'm out. I don't want to do this. Oh my gosh,
I
no
get
way. I
it.
can't. I
Yep.
can't. You're telling me everything that's wrong. What do you mean? So,
Yep.
but it was and I put it away and I didn't look at it. And then my editor and then my publisher was like, where's the book? I'm like, I don't know. So finally my husband's like, let's look at your edits. And we went through. It was a labor of love. We went through and he would say, okay, they want you to expand on that. I'm like, I don't know what they want me to say more. What else should I say?
Yeah.
Or I would say something and he understood. He knows me. So he's like, he knew what I was trying to say. And he's like, yeah, no one understands it like that. You got to say it in a different way. So that was another labor of love. But the book really focuses on, and anyone can, it's not the type of book because I could be a little attention deficit of squirrely. You don't
Yeah.
have to read the book from chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You can pick up and read whatever chapter you want. It's better if you read it in order because it will give you context. But there are the stories of the women who had gone confidently in the direction of their dreams and had some very impactful habits that help them achieve the dreams that they had for themselves.
Wow.
And the habits that they taught me that allow me to become who I am today. So
Amazing.
I share the stories like my grandmother. You get to hear a little story about her. You get to hear about my friend Latanya, who I met when I was going through yoga teacher certification. And, a couple days ago, was the anniversary of her passing. And that was
Mm,
someone who I believe was an angel that came into my life and taught me so much about resiliency,
yeah.
about so many different things. And I noticed that habit that she had of being a nurturer. And she achieved so many dreams in her short life. And it was so beautiful
Mm,
to have her in my life. So, yeah, so
mm,
that's what the book is about. And there
yeah.
is one cool dude in there that I talk about, and that is my dad,
Uh,
who,
Okay.
thanks to him, he is the person that would always encourage me to go after my dreams. He is the person that was my mentor, my coach, my friend, um, my dad, and be a dad like many times. But he is the first person that gave me the quote by Henry David Thoreau: go confidently in the direction of your dreams. And that's why my business is called Go Confidently in the Direction of Your Dreams. Perhaps there's a woman out there that is listening that maybe didn't have a dad that knew business or a dad that was encouraging, or they did, but they still need that person that's going to believe in them, that's going to help them gain that self love. um, that's why I wanted to start Go Confidently, to help them achieve what they want.
And how can we get the book?
Well, I will tell you, anybody who's listening to the podcast, you can go to confidentyou.com hey girl.
Mhm.
And anybody who clicks on that will get a free ebook, the Kindle version of the book. But it's
Oh,
also
that's awesome.
available on Amazon, and anybody
Hmm.
can go in and download it. And if you forget the website, you can always find me on social media, Julie Delucca-Collins, and said, "Hey, I heard you on Gloria's podcast. Send me
Yeah.
your book." And I will send
Yeah.
you the Kindle version of the book.
You know what? I had such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Julie. I mean,
Oh,
it
my
is so
pleasure.
refreshing just to be in a space with another woman who gets it, who understands that once you figure out that your life is your life and you can carve out your own lane and you can do
Mm.
that unapologetically and take it to the next level, that is when you start to live. That is when you start to live
Uh,
because you just shake so much
I'm gonna
stuff off
cheer
of
that
you,
on. I'm
right?
cheering you with my little pom
You
pom.
you just shake
Yes.
so much stuff off of you because a lot of shit just don't matter anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Stop wearing somebody else's opinions. Who
Correct.
cares?
That's right.
I actually, oh my gosh, hold on. I'm gonna make a t-shirt. I started to
Yeah.
mock it up already. Can I tell you what the t-shirt says? Oh my God,
What
you're
is
gonna think
say?
I'm crazy.
What is
Um, Okay, wait, hold please. Maybe we don't have
Mhm.
time for this, but hold on. I'm going to tell. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, F 'em. Choose joy.
I know that's right.
Because you know what? People are never going to stop
They're
having a
not.
definition for something, having a need from you. But if you're putting somebody else's needs in front of yours, you are cheating yourself of the possibility of the life that you can have.
Mm.
You're cheating yourself. And by the way, that ripple effect of you cheating yourself, then in turn cheats everybody else who could benefit from you doing your thing. So stop cheating other people too.
You heard her, ladies. So please go to her website, give the website one more time so they can get the
Yes.
Kindle version of the book.
Okay. Well, the website is goconfidentlycoaching.com. You can go to goconfidentlycoaching.com and you can contact me through there and I can send you the book. But if you want to really go to the site for the website is confidentubook.com/hey girl, and you can get it.
Julie, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for everything. And please
Mm.
continue to shine your light. And we'll definitely put your podcast and everything inside of the link so the ladies can actually support. Okay.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. And Gloria, thank you so much for having me. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are incredible. I
Thank you.
love other women who are supporters of women in their dreams. So thank you so much for the work that you do. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I received that. And you have a good night. Okay.
All right. Have a good night, my friend.
All right.